So tonight's class is on wisdom. The next 3 classes are going to be on wisdom. Meditating on wisdom brings our mind to peace because wisdom is an exploration of what's true. And in terms of why bother with this at all, we apprehend the way things exist. And that causes our mind to get disturbed. It sort of disturbs the silt in the bottom of the pond, if you like, agitates our mind how things exist. So it's quite a profound subject, wisdom, in a way. In another way, it's simple, but if our mind has ignorance in it sounds a bit rude, doesn't it, telling people that they're ignorant, but if our mind doesn't correctly apprehend the way things exist, then it suffers, and it's hard to see the way things do exist. Just in the same way that if we're angry with someone and somebody else says they've got lovely qualities, we'll just say, no, they're not, they're horrible. Or if we think someone's beautiful, we've got a lot of love for someone, and somebody says they've got loads of faults, we'll sort of say, well, I think they're really nice. If we are feeling jealous of someone and somebody else says, well, I think they deserve that, we'll probably say, no, I don't think they do, I think I should have it. So our mind kicks back against the opposite, really. It's just the way the mind functions. And one of those kickbacks is ignorance and wisdom. So the classes are designed to try to give a taster, really. It's a big subject, and to give a taster into different ways we can check if things exist the way they do. It's a big subject. It only appears complicated because we don't get it. It's as simple as that, really. If you get an aha moment, probably not in the first class, but in the second or third, if you get one of those aha moments, then you'll think, well, why did I ever think it was other than this? This is just like blindingly obvious. How come I thought it was like that? So it is a sort of penny drop kind of experience. And the way we can approach wisdom is to listen to teachings on it, contemplate, read books, meditate, and all of that functions to bring our mind to a sense of peace, because we're hearing stuff that's I don't like saying we're hearing stuff that's true, because it makes it sound like it's dogma or preaching, but I suppose we should judge for ourselves if things that we meditate on bring us to a sense of peace. There is an element of frustration that sort of comes with meditating on wisdom or listening to teachings on wisdom, because it doesn't seem to be true. It seems to be untrue. So there's a healthy doubt we can suspend. There's a healthy kind of doubt about our own current views that we can suspend and try to just think about things that come from a different way, things we may have never heard before or seem absolutely bonkers. I like to think I'm fairly rational. I'm an engineer, and if I was to sit here and talk about stuff that made no sense whatsoever, then I think I'd probably give in, lost the plot. So I found this stuff to make sense and be true, and to bring my mind to a sense of peace. Before we do that, we're going to do the breathing meditation, the body relaxation, the breathing meditation. And the way to approach this is not to see it as ordinary, to just see it as a very special chance to deeply relax and still our mind ready for the breathing meditation. And when we do the breathing meditation, to really enjoy giving ourselves a break. Really, that's what breathing meditation is. It's simplifying our life in that moment. Because what is life? It's a series of moments. So part of our life becomes very simple. We can trust the process of the breathing meditation. There's no getting it right or wrong. There's no good or bad. The mind actually, you'll see, flips itself back into mindfulness, into the present moment. We can't actually do that. When our mind's carried away with a thought in meditation, we can't get it to come back. You just notice it, I'm back in the room. Here I am again. And then it's a choice of, well, what do I do with that awareness? Do I focus on something, or do I just stay generally aware, like we might do with the walking meditations or zazen? And in the breathing meditation, we find the breath again. And it wanders away, our mind, which we don't have a choice about. And then it brings itself back, which we don't have a choice about. So there's very little in that process we actually have a decision to make. The only decision we have to make is, shall I find my breath again? And that's it. So if we give into what is a very simple process, then as I'm sure you've found from meditating for a while now, it brings peace. So please don't, please if you can, let go of whether you're a good or bad or moderate meditator. It's of no benefit to you to think in that way. So just try to meet each moment skillfully. Okay. Right, so if you'd like to get into your feet comfortably on the floor. And close our eyes or leave them slightly open. We can rest our tongue against the back of the front of the teeth if we wish. That's the tip of the tongue against the back of the front upper teeth. Hands up, hands down in your palm of your, in your lap, on your thighs. It really doesn't matter too much. Comfortably straight back. Chin tucked in a little so the crown of the head is up. And irrespective of what's happened prior to now, today and last week, this week, last week, we can start to just ease in to what's here now. And as we know, that brings stillness. So when you're at home or doing this now, it's a nice way to bring our minds from the past or the future is to picture the room that we're in. Just a general image of this room. And an awareness of yourself in the chair. Now we can bring our awareness to our thoughts. Observe your thoughts, which simply means looking at them. So just check, does it appear that there's a mind watching the mind, or does it appear that there is a you, a me, observing the thoughts? Is there a sense of a person observing thoughts, or a sense of a mind observing thoughts? There's no right or wrong answer, it's just what appears to you at the moment. Thoughts come and thoughts go. Now please become aware of your abdomen. Bring your mind inwards to your core area, your chest area and your body. This helps to ground us, settle us in. We may become aware of some feelings around here, or we may not. Not good or bad, right or wrong. Again, notice if there's a sense of a person meditating, a sense of a person looking inwards into the center of us. Or is there just neutral space observing? Neutral space without identity? Or does it feel like there's a me doing this? We're going to now do the body relaxation. Bring your awareness to your face. Allow your face muscles to relax. Does it feel like there's a person just behind the face? And we can let our jaw muscles relax as well deeply, allow them to loosen. The tension that's built up gradually can dissipate. Bringing our awareness now to our left shoulder, we can scan all the way down, checking for tightness, tension, loosen the arm, the hand, the fingers. And the same from the right shoulder, all the way down. Let the arms rest under their own weight. Give your arms a holiday. And your hands and your fingers. Observe your left hip and scan down through your left leg all the way to the floor. Let any tension go, any tightness, let it melt away. And the same from the right hip down. Now we can bring our awareness to our shoulders and our neck. Let them just relax, let the shoulders be. let the neck be. Keep your posture nicely upright, chin tucked in a little, head balanced nicely on the shoulders so that the neck can be nice and supple. Now we're going to relax our abdomen. Visualize thick black smoke swirling around inside of us, with all of our confusion bound up in it, all of our misunderstanding the way things exist, our ignorance, the root of all of our suffering. If this seems a little obscure, then if you like, you can imagine it's all of your ego, if you want to use that word. All of your anxiety is another way to sort of express it. All of your anxiety, ego, ignorance, all bound up in this thick black smoke, the very root from which all our suffering arises. And then when it feels comfortable, just allow yourself 3 nice, steady, deep out breaths and visualize this black smoke, and with it all of that anxiety and stress dissipating out with it into the far distance. After the 3rd breath, visualize that it's all gone. Now we can do some gold breathing. We visualize beautiful, streaming golden sparkling light coming through our nostrils as we breathe in normally. And we visualize it starting to spread out, permeate our body and the vast space of our mind. Imagine it uplifts, freshens the mind, makes it feel more supple and alert. With the last few in-breaths of sparkling light, visualize it permeating your whole body and mind. And then bring your breathing back to, bring your awareness back to your breathing, just simply observing your breath coming in, going into your lungs. If you want to imagine it going further to the chair, that can be quite nice and liberating. And then observe the breath coming all the way back out again. As we breathe in, we can be aware that the oxygen we're breathing in has come from plants, come from trees and bushes and plants. We are alive now in dependence upon trees and plants. Now bring your awareness into your nostril linings. Notice it's cooler as you breathe in, warmer as you breathe out, and the cool and the warm cease at the end and the beginning of the cycle. Just allow your concentration to keep you with these cool and warm sensations. As I said earlier, there's no control over that mind wandering away, not much, and it comes back of its own accord. The one thing we can do to help our mind not wander away is to apply a reasonable amount of concentration, not too much effort and not too little. Keep our posture nice, eyes slightly open if you wish, and a real determination to stay relaxed and stay with these sensations for a little longer than normal. We can check in regularly, am I still doing it? So try today to stay with the breath for longer than you would normally, but keep the mind relaxed. If you start to feel sleepy, just check your posture. Now we bring our awareness to the very rims of the nostrils, and we just give in, wholeheartedly, happily give in to this process once more. Observe the cool and the warm at the rims of the nostrils. Give yourself every permission to feel calm and more peaceful. More calm, more peaceful. It doesn't matter how busy your mind is, it's all relative. Less busy feels nice. can check every now and again, am I still doing it? For the last couple of minutes, please allow your mind to rest on the breath. When it wanders away, bring it back. Your mind may have gone a bit dull. This is a little, quite a period of time to meditate just on the breath. So do what you need to do, correct your posture, strengthen your concentration, stay as you are if it feels right for the last couple of minutes. Before we come out of meditation, we can just enjoy relaxing our concentration a little and enjoy resting in the peace you've created, or even resting in the diminished anxiety or stress or worry. For the next 30 seconds or so, we're just going to enjoy being, just enjoy resting in that calm. And then we can dedicate the peace we've created to our own future peace and to the peace of those around us, people, animals, insects. And then, when it feels comfortable, just gently allow your eyes to open. Thank you. So there are lots of different ways to gain insight into how things exist. Christian ways, Zen ways, Tibetan Buddhist ways, Hindu ways, whirling dervishes. There's all sorts of different ways to do this, and people tend to come to a view that all is one. It's all one man. All is one. They experience that directly. It doesn't matter which route, people seem to come to the same conclusion, ultimately. And you can call it whatever they want. God, the universe, oneness, cosmic consciousness. I like that one. It's sort of very 60s, isn't it? Cosmic consciousness. But people come to this view. People come to this experience. In fact, the person doesn't. The person melts away and there's just this experience. People who experience that say, well, it just is. It's just the way it is. I didn't realise, So when we say, and I asked, does it feel like there's someone in here meditating, observing those thoughts? I would imagine it did. That's our normal state is, I'm meditating. There's a me watching those thoughts. And that sense of me, it is a sense, that sense of me feels very permanent, which is why when we get told you're going to die, we feel completely shocked. We shouldn't get shocked. Rationally, we shouldn't get shocked. We know our life's coming to an end at some point. But it comes as a complete shock, which indicates, sort of proves that we subconsciously believe that this self is permanent. If we can overcome that sense of permanent self, then we have less shock. We have less things bother us, less things worry us. And actually we can come to see that there isn't a self at all in the way it appears. That appearance isn't true. The classic, what I'm describing now are classic sort of Tibetan Buddhist ways of trying to gain insight into the true nature of reality. So some of the classic things are like, we see a rope. As we're walking out of here, it's quite dark, we see a rope, we think it's a snake, we develop fear. We realise it's rope, the fear goes. The fear came on in dependence upon a misunderstanding of the way something existed and what was there. We might see a stump of a tree and think it's a robber or someone coming to get us. When we realise it's a stump, that fear goes. That's happening to us all the time. We're basically living to some degree in fear and anxiety and worry, in dependence upon things that don't really exist in the way they appear to. So the whole of these teachings and this practice is that when we recognise a thing for what it is, the rope, the stump, the rainbow, things like that, then our mind just loosens and relaxes. There are certain things that are hidden from us in plain sight, like water's hidden from a fish. A fish doesn't know it's in water, I suppose, until you pick it out and it goes, blimey, I was in water. We get a glimpse of peace in meditation. Maybe it's the first time we've really realised the anxiety we have, when it just goes blip and goes, and it comes back, and we think, blimey, there's quite a lot there, isn't there? I thought that was normal. Now I've got a new normal, which is peace. So a couple of things that are particularly, not the only things, but a couple of things that are particularly hidden from us. One is something called changing suffering, which is suffering that appears as happiness, worldly happiness. A suffering that diminishes in amount is still suffering, it's just less suffering. But that's the sort of stuff that we feel is happiness. And we cling to that and hope that that'll deliver again and again and again. And it can't, because it's just suffering diminishing and increasing. So we have hunger, so we eat, and we feel that that makes us happy. But we've just reduced an amount of hunger, it's going to come back unless we eat again. We walk a long way and we take our shoes off, and it feels great to get our shoes off and put them in a bath or a foot spa or something. But if we left our feet in there forever, for a long, long time, they'd have got all wrinkly and the water would get cold. So it's that reduction in suffering that feels like happiness. We put our cold hands in our pockets to get them warm in the winter, and it feels nice. It's just a reduction in coldness, a reduction in the coldness of our hands. So that kind of suffering changing suffering is hidden because it appears to be the opposite of suffering. It appears to be happiness. If we have a lack of pleasant experience, we eat some chocolate, then there's an absence, a reduction in that unpleasant experience. There's actually a reduction in boredom. A bit bored, I'll eat something. So the boredom diminishes when we eat something. But quite quickly we finished eating the food and we're bored again. If it delivered what it said it did, we could just eat chocolate all day and feel happier and happier and happier. We could get into a hot bath when we're cold and just feel happier and happier and happier. There's another thing that's hidden from us, which is wisdom. It's hidden from us. The way things exist is hidden from us in plain sight, a bit like changing suffering and worldly happiness. And that worldly happiness isn't like meditation happiness. It's not like the calm and the happiness we get from just meditating more and more and more and getting calmer and calmer and calmer. If we could do this for hours, we'd get calmer and calmer. That's what happened on Saturday. It was a 4-hour course. People got calmer and calmer and calmer. If we go to things that are changing suffering and see if they're reliable, they don't make us more and more happy. That chocolate makes us feel sick in the end. That bath, we go all wrinkly. If we sleep too long, right, we're tired, we have a really nice night's sleep, we think, I'm going to feel better in the morning. If we sleep till 1 in the afternoon, we feel awful. Often we feel awful. If sleep made us feel happy, then we could sleep 22 hours a day and we'd be like giggling and jumping around like little kids. It doesn't. It's just a reduction in tiredness that can't ultimately deliver. So if we look at things that are reliable and deliver what they say they will, then we're onto a winner. We can do more of them. The problem is we look at things that don't deliver and do more of them. The reason we do that is because that changing suffering tricks us into thinking we're getting the goods. We're getting the goods, it's delivering each time. So we're like that flame, that moth that hits the light bulb. Oh, this will deliver, don't, ow. This will deliver, don't, ow. And that goes on and on. So this other thing that's hidden is the way we exist. The way we exist is not how we appear to exist, and that's hidden from us. Well, it's not hidden from us because there is no us. There's no me right now, and there's no you right now. There's no little man in here like Men in Black. I like that little one, that little man moving the little alien. That isn't going on. There was a sense of me when we were watching our thoughts and meditating, and it felt permanent. It feels permanent. It doesn't feel like something is creating me right now. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like it feels like I'm permanent. This will become more evident in the second and third class, but the first class is the easiest way to understand the way we exist, or what created us, is causes and conditions. What causes a rainbow? I can't go through this exactly, I'm not a weatherman, but there's the sun and there's the rain and there's where we are in position in relation to those things and the clouds, or who knows what, but there's just, hello, a rainbow, isn't there? There's a rainbow. Sometimes we hit the jackpot and there's a double rainbow. We know we can't get to that rainbow. We know we can't get to it. We know it exists in dependence upon causes and conditions, but we know we can't find it if we go looking for it. All it is an appearance that's occurred because conditions and causes have arisen together to create it. But if we have a little child who wants to go and see the rainbow, we just say, no, you can't. You just can't. Why not? Why can't I go and see the rainbow, says the 3-year-old. Starts to cry. How do I explain to a 3-year-old that rainbows don't exist? Because he can see the rainbow. He knows there's a rainbow. He wants to go and see it. We would have to either go to the rainbow. In fact, we can't. We'd have to go down there and it would disappear. Or we explain, what's it called? The weather stuff. There's an ology, isn't it? It's some sort of ology. We'd have to describe weather to them and causes and conditions. That's what we're like with the self. Basically, we're like the little child that says, oh, I want to go and get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Or we go, don't take myself away. I like me. Don't take myself away. Coming in here, telling me that I'm not here. Of course I'm here. Of course I'm here. So do we exist permanently or in dependence upon causes and conditions like the rainbow? Well, we know it's causes and conditions. We know that. There's 3 ways we can look at how we exist, and they become more subtle and more difficult to comprehend. So one is causes and conditions. One is our parts, because without our parts we wouldn't exist. And one is name. And we think, well, of course I'd exist without my name. But in week 3, I'm going to try and prove to you that that's not the case. So there was no David before David was named as a baby. Before the name David, there was no David. Don't tell your mum this, she'll think I'm a Fruit Loop. But this is, so this is the most subtle, is we exist in dependence upon our name. The middle one that's not very easy to understand, but is the middle one, is we exist in dependence upon our parts. So our head, our body, our arms, our legs, our mind, they constitute us. If there's no body, all right, we can throw soul in if that's your bag. If you want, if there's no soul, there's no body, there's no thoughts, there's no feelings, there's no me. So we exist in dependence upon our parts, all the atoms and the thoughts and the soul. And causes and conditions is the easiest to understand. So we exist. You're probably going to get a bit squeamish now. I'm going to enjoy this. We exist in dependence upon certain causes and conditions. The fact that our parents fancied each other. The fact that they fancied each other enough to do it. I went to see Sean Locke on Tuesday night at Woking. And he was talking about this, and he was postulating whether we get our personality from the position our parents were doing it in when we were conceived. He made about 1,000 people squirm in our seats. So yeah, there's the fact that our parents fancied each other. We hope, and they got it together. Our dad wasn't a Jaffa, seedless, and our mum, had at least one egg, and those little sperms, one of them managed to get there, managed to get in, and there was a full term. So we exist in dependence upon our parents. And not just our parents, that our parents met and fancied each other and did the deed and all these other things. And we continue to exist in dependence upon food and water and fresh air. So the way we perceive ourselves to exist when we observe our mind and when somebody tells us we're dying is we previously, subconsciously, deep down, believe that we're permanent. Seems a bizarre thing, but that is the way we tend to function. So it's really, although it seems simple and obvious, it does have an effect on us to meditate on the fact that we exist in dependence upon causes and conditions like a rainbow exists on causes and conditions, and clouds do, and obviously everything does. So is there anything that doesn't exist upon causes and conditions? Is there anything that exists in its own right without needing anything to bring it into existence? If you're thinking about who caused God, we're not going to go that far today. That's not, I don't know. But generally, horses, cows, trees, grass, this wooden floor, person at the side of you, this cup, this watch, everything depends upon causes and conditions. And in a way, that's really sweet. That's really nice. It means that everything is totally interconnected. Everything's interconnected. Nothing exists in this world in isolation. We feel slightly isolated, I think, quite a lot of the time. We sort of perceive object out there and person in here, whether object is other person or not. We don't feel that cosmic consciousness, that oneness. There's an element of loneliness in our lives. And there has to be if we're perceiving things to exist in the way they don't, which is there's out there and there's in here, and it's all permanent and it doesn't require causes and conditions. It's just there. I'm going to do a little meditation on causes and conditions. Now, this might seem a bit strange to be doing this. We might think, well, you're stating the bleeding obvious. But sometimes what is hidden from us is that our subconscious doesn't believe in the bleeding obvious. It believes in something that's bleeding bonkers, which is that we're permanent. So I'm not trying to engage with this meditation isn't trying to engage with our rational, logical mind. It's trying to engage with that bit of the mind that's terrified when we're told we're dying, because we believe we're going to live forever. That sort of underlying mind. And it brings peace, hopefully. So if you'd like to get into meditation posture. So straight away we can observe a sense of self in this chair. It feels like there's someone sat in this chair. It feels like there's someone listening to this voice. See if you can observe how you appear. Nothing complicated, not a trick question. Does it feel like there's not a you here? Does it feel like there's an absence of you here? Or if not, then what's here appears. This sense of self is the one that's shocked is the one that feels permanent. Doesn't feel like it's existing in dependence upon other things. So you can just contemplate some of the things that have been said. That we exist in dependence upon our parents, and the egg and the sperm, and the meeting and fancying each other and doing the deed, and being inside our mum for long enough to go from a fetus to a baby. As you observe the sense of self, a perfectly reasonable question is, who's observing the self? Who the hell's observing me right now? If we can perceive a sense of self, who's witnessing that? In reality, this sense of self is a deluded appearance to the mind, like a stick being seen as a snake, or a stump in the shadows being seen as a robber. Part of the mind experiences itself as a person, as an I, as a me, and another part of the mind observes that deluded, illusory experience, but doesn't recognize it as that. It recognizes it incorrectly as a person. We're witnessing a sense of self. Just like with a rainbow, there's nobody in this body. There's thoughts come and go. There's no me in between those thoughts. There's no me spewing those thoughts out. If we think we're the soul, well, we say my soul or your soul. That doesn't make us a soul. That makes us the owner of a soul. And yet all of this appearance wouldn't happen without causes and conditions. Just like the rainbow isn't as it appears, but it does appear. Can't go and touch it, but we can't say it doesn't appear. And it needs causes and conditions to arise. So for the next minute or so, just contemplate the causes and the conditions that have led to you existing. Once you've come to a firm view that, yes, I'm not permanent, I exist in dependence upon causes and conditions. If those cease, like water, air, food, our heart beating, our blood circulating, our brain functioning, if these stop, we cease. Once we come to this view, we just hold this acknowledgement like we might observe our thoughts. We just hold this acknowledgement, and when our mind wanders away, we come back to it. If we need to reaffirm that we exist because we've been conceived and blood pumps and the body functions, the air is in there's oxygen in the air, we come back to this acknowledgement that we exist upon conditions and causes. You may get a sense of the fragility of life from this. This is very different from thinking I won't die today. which is untrue. We may die today. That's true. Our heart pumping, our breath, oxygen, blood circulation, brain working, water, food. Cause us to exist. We can also contemplate that without these, we cease to exist. Without any, the thing about causes and conditions, we only need one not to have occurred. Only one out of loads, and we wouldn't be here. The sperm not good enough, the egg not being there, the parents not fancying each other, the oxygen not being in the air, the blood not circulating, the lungs not working, the brain not working. Only one of these things needs to not be here. We don't exist. We can track back even further and actually acknowledge that our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our great-great-grandparents and on for thousands and thousands of generations, without all of that happening, we wouldn't be here. And all of the causes and conditions that allow all of those thousands of generations to occur, one single item out of any of those thousands, we wouldn't be here now. It's utterly amazing how we're here now. So we can recognize the incredible good fortune of all these causes and conditions, and that we only exist because of them. Once upon a time, there was a caveman somewhere who managed to get the saber-toothed tiger, which meant he ate and lived. And further down that chain, there's us. There's somebody in the 12th century had a baby. Without that baby surviving, there wouldn't be us. There's someone in the 4th century had enough to eat to reach adulthood, puberty and beyond, to procreate and be fertile. Otherwise there wouldn't be us. This little rock in the whole universe is the only one we know of with oxygen in its surrounding gases, in its atmosphere. Without that, we wouldn't exist. Without our parents or our carers saving us from death when we were toddlers, day in, day out, walking downstairs and killing ourselves, walking out in front of cars, burning ourselves, cutting ourselves, getting our food for us. Without all of those conditions, we wouldn't be here. So recognizing the way we exist and all the different things that cause our existence is very beautiful. Makes our fragile life very understandably precious. So for the last minute we can just hold this this wonderment of how precious this existence is, given how many millions of factors all have to be there, have had to be there. Then, before we come out of meditation, we can dedicate this recognition of how we exist and the preciousness of it and the miracle of it to our own wisdom that brings peace and the wisdom that brings peace to others. When it feels comfortable, just allow your eyes to open. Thank you.